Welcome. Healthy Lifestyle Line. Subscribe to my channel for more quality videos. How to make an enema at home. There are many different ways to make an enema at home using natural ingredients. Before using an enema, it is best to seek the advice of a doctor or medical professional to verify that the practice will be safe based on your own unique medical history. Olive oil enema. Combine distilled water and olive oil. Combine 2 TBSP 30 ml of extra virgin olive oil with 1.5 quarts 1.5 L of distilled water in a small saucepan. Olive oil is a gentle way to soften stools. It can also lubricate the rectum, which allows stools to pass through more readily. For a slight variation, consider combining 2 TBSP 30 ml of olive oil with 1 quart 1 L of whole milk and 1/2 QT 1/2 L of distilled water. As the colon metabolizes the milk, the bacteria living there creates gas, which pushes the enema further into the colon and makes it more effective. Warm the solution. Place the saucepan on the stove and heat it gently over medium heat. It should reach a temperature of 104 degrees Fahrenheit 40 degrees Celsius. For an oil enema that includes milk, watch the contents of the saucepan closely to prevent the milk from curdling. If the milk does curdle, do not use the solution, discard it and start over. Administer and retain for several minutes. Administer the enema and try to wait at least 5 to 10 minutes before evacuating your bowels. In some individuals, the milk may cause a violent reaction rather quickly. You should at least try to administer the entire enema before evacuating the bowels, but beyond that, there is no strict time limit on a milk-based oil enema. Acidophilus enema. Warm the distilled water. Use a small saucepan or kettle to heat 2 quarts 2 L of distilled water to 98 degrees Fahrenheit 37 degrees Celsius. Gently heat the water on the stove over a medium heat setting. The water can be as hot as 104 degrees Fahrenheit 40 degrees Celsius. Avoid any temperature higher than that, however, since extremely hot water can be bad for your body. Combine powdered acidophilus with the warm water. Stir 1 teaspoon 5 ml of powdered acidophilus into the warm water until it dissolves. Alternatively, you can break open 4 to 5 capsules of dry acidophilus or use 4 TBSP 60 ml of probiotic yogurt. Acidophilus is a live culture and type of beneficial bacteria. When it is applied directly to the colon in the form of an enema, the bacteria can propagate more effectively and help the colon cleanse itself. This type of enema can be especially helpful for those suffering with irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease, constipation, hemorrhoids, or colon cancer. Administer and retain the enema for 10 minutes. Administer the enema as usual and retain it for at least 10 minutes before evacuating. If you do not retain the enema for at least 10 minutes, the beneficial bacteria it provides may not be able to get deep enough into the colon to be effective. Retaining it for more than 10 minutes will increase the effectiveness of the enema, but you should usually evacuate within 20 minutes. Salt water enema. Heat distilled water to a comfortable temperature. Heat 2 quarts 2 L of distilled water to a temperature between 98 and 104 degrees Fahrenheit 37 and 40 degrees Celsius. Pour the water into a small saucepan or kettle. Place it on the stove and heat it over medium until it reaches the desired temperature. Dissolve sea salt into the water. Add 2 teaspoons 10 ml of pure sea salt to the warm water. Stir until the salt dissolves. An enema prepared with pure sea salt is one of the gentlest types you can use, making it a good option for someone who has never used an enema before. The salt reduces the amount of water absorbed into the bloodstream but does not draw water in or out of the colon, which means that this enema will feel more tolerable than most others. For a much stronger enema, use 4 TBSP 60 ml of Epsom salts instead. Epsom salts contain a high dose of magnesium. They increase water in the intestines, thereby flushing the colon out more rapidly. Do not use Epsom salts if you are experiencing stomach pain, nausea, or vomiting, however. Administer and retain for as long as possible. Administer the enema as you would any other. Retain it for as long as possible to maximize its effectiveness. Note that a saltwater enema prepared with sea salt should only be retained for up to 40 minutes. Saltwater enemas prepared with Epsom salt work more rapidly and may need to be evacuated after 5 to 10 minutes, but should not be retained for more than 20 minutes. Lemon juice enema. Heat the distilled water. Using a kettle or small saucepan, heat 2 quarts 2L of distilled water over a medium heat setting on the stove. The water should be heated to a temperature range that is natural to the human body. Ideally, the temperature should fall somewhere between 98 and 104 degrees Fahrenheit 37 and 40 degrees Celsius. Combine the water with fresh lemon juice. Add 2/3 cup 158 milliliters of fresh lemon juice to the water. Stir well to combine. 3 average-sized lemons should produce an adequate amount of juice. Make sure that the juice is filtered before adding it to the water for your enema. Lemon juice can cleanse the colon of excess feces while balancing the pH of the organ. When used once a week, a lemon juice enema can soothe discomfort caused by colitis and chronic constipation. Note that the acidity in the lemon juice can irritate the lining of your intestines, so it may cause some cramping. As such, this type of enema is not recommended for individuals with abnormally sensitive digestive tracts. Administer and retain for several minutes. Administer the entire enema and retain it for 10 to 15 minutes, or for as long as you can without causing cramping and other intense pain. Since lemon juice is so acidic, it may not be comfortable to hold for extended periods of time. You should try to retain it for at least 5 minutes before evacuating to receive an adequate amount of benefit. Milk and molasses enema. Heat whole milk. Pour 1 to 2 cups 250 to 500 milliliters of whole milk into a small saucepan. Heat it on the stove over medium to medium-high, bringing it to a slight boil. Stir the milk and heat it carefully to prevent it from curdling. Do not use curdled milk in an enema. This type of enema can be a highly effective way to clear the colon of excess feces. In fact, it can cause an extremely volatile reaction in the colon, so it is best to use it with caution and as a last resort. Mix molasses into the milk. Remove the saucepan from the stove and stir in 1 to 2 cups 250 to 500 milliliters of blackstrap molasses. Continue stirring until the 2 ingredients are thoroughly combined. The amount of molasses used should match the amount of milk used. The combined sugars in the milk and molasses feed bacteria in the colon, causing gas to develop and push the enema further up the digestive tract. These sugars also draw moisture into the colon, making it easier to pass fecal matter. Note that this type of enema is known to cause severe cramping. Cool slightly. Allow the enema solution to sit at room temperature until it drops to a temperature that is safe to use inside the body. The ideal temperature ranges between 98 and 104 degrees Fahrenheit 37 and 40 degrees Celsius. Administer and retain as possible. When the enema is cool enough, administer it and retain for as long as possible before evacuation. At the very least, you should try to administer the entire solution before evacuating. Apply the enema quickly to improve your odds of getting the entire amount into the colon. Note that this is one of the messiest homemade enema solutions available. You may want to use a disposable bag or replacement tubing. Keep thick towels nearby in the event of a leak or premature bowel movement. Garlic enema. Combine water and garlic. In a small non-aluminum saucepan, combine 2 crushed cloves of garlic in 1/2 qt 1/2L of distilled water. You can use up to 3 cloves of garlic if the cloves are relatively small. The garlic helps to remove excess mucus in the liver and intestines. Since garlic has natural antiseptic properties, this type of enema is commonly used to treat intestinal worms, bacteria, parasites, and yeast infections. Simmer for 15 minutes. Place the saucepan on the stove. Bring the garlic water to a boil over high heat, then reduce the heat to medium-low and simmer the solution for 15 minutes. Cool and strain. Remove the saucepan from the stove and allow it to sit out at room temperature until it cools. After it cools, strain out the solid pieces. The enema solution should cool to a temperature between 98 and 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 and 40 degrees Celsius. Strain the solution through a fine mesh metal sieve. Discard the solid pieces of garlic and retain the liquid for the enema. Only use the liquid portion for the enema. Add more water. Add enough distilled water to the garlic water to create a total of 1 quart 1L. The water you add should be fairly warm. The temperature of the enema should not drop below 98 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Celsius. Apply and retain for up to 20 minutes. Administer the enema as usual and retain it for up to 20 minutes. Try to retain the enema for at least 10 minutes before evacuation. Retaining it for a longer period of time will increase its effectiveness, but do not exceed 20 minutes. Tea enema. Bring water to a boil. Bring 1 quart 1L of distilled water to a boil in a kettle or small saucepan. Pour the hot water over tea leaves. Place 3 bags of chamomile or green tea in a non-aluminum bowl and pour the boiling water over the bags. Allow the tea to brew for 5 to 10 minutes. Note that you may opt to use 2 TBSP 30 milliliters of loose leaf tea instead of the 3 bags. Chamomile tea can brew for 5 to 10 minutes, but green tea should only brew for 5 minutes. Chamomile tea helps to soothe and cleanse the colon. It can also cleanse the liver. Chamomile-based enemas are commonly used to treat hemorrhoids. Green tea has helpful antioxidants that can improve the health of your colon. An enema made with green tea is typically used to help replenish beneficial bacteria in your digestive tract. Remove the tea leaves. Once the tea is steeped for an appropriate amount of time, remove the tea bags. If using loose leaf tea, strain the tea through a fine mesh strainer. Discard the leaves and retain only the liquid tea. Only use the liquid portion for the enema. Add more water as needed. If necessary, add enough distilled water to the tea to bring the volume back up to 1 quart 1L. The water you add should be fairly warm. Before application, the tea enema should reach a temperature between 98 and 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 and 40 degrees Celsius. Administer and retain for several minutes. Administer the enema using standard methods. Retain it for up to 20 minutes before evacuation. To obtain any benefit, you should try to retain the enema for at least 10 minutes. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video. And don't forget to subscribe.